Yugal Kishore, a few extra words in English, spontaneous outpouring of blessings to extend our Mangala journey a little bit more.
Yes, Maharaj. I'm calling on our different mentors and guides, our gurus, our saints, that they may be present here with us in spirit, that they may help guide with loving hands the direction of our conversation to the satisfaction of our hearts. Om.
Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, we may only see 16 in Zoom, but there's a bigger gathering presence of all our guardian angels blessing this meeting. So thank you, Yugal Kishore, for reminding us, for inviting them, but also for reminding us that in one sense they're already there. Though our invitation to them is our invitation to become aware that they're already there, probably, which is nonetheless an invitation at the end of the day. So thank you very much, and welcome you again to a new episode of our lives together. Let's put it that way. Satsang, i.e., our lives together, a journey of encountering the truth and confronting reality in the good sense of the term. No? Confronting, in Sanskrit, we have the word sammokyata. Let's somehow restart. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry for the interruptions. And as I was saying, we are today satsang, which could be defined as confrontation with reality, turning our face to the center. This is a term we have in Sanskrit, sammukyata, to look, to turn our face, mukya, some full face turning, basically sammukya, to the divine, to reality, to a centered reality, right? To an interconnected, to a reality that makes sense, basically. The willingness to look at reality in a way that makes sense. To look at reality in a way that purpose, not only purpose can be discovered, but as we were talking the other day with Bhakti-rasa, love has no purpose because love is purpose. And that's why in Sanskrit the word for both purpose and love is the same, one of them, which is artha. Artha means purpose, and artha, purushartha, prema purushartha, the divine love is also known by that name. So yeah, today gathering together, trying to make sense of reality, or better put, approaching together reality as a circle, getting closer and closer to the center of the circle in a way that we realize once again how reality is made of purpose, is purpose itself. And we are part of that. So discovering our purpose in purpose. So greetings from Vrindavan. I'm in Vrindavan now. I arrived here yesterday after a week or so in Govardhan. It was a very soothing experience there. Every day, almost having some morning walk and darshan and meditation at the feet of Giriraj, and sharing with some friends and devotees, different local inhabitants of various species, such as cows, monkeys, peacocks, squirrels, dogs, and whatnot. So it was a very holistic sangha, let's put it that way. So 2 more days in India, and then leaving for New Zealand for 3 weeks. So next week we'll be from there. And I will be announcing at the end, maybe so I don't forget then, but we'll be having a new timing for the time for our satsang by the time I'm in New Zealand, because to do it at this time is really too complicated for me. So we'll be announcing the time and during the week, and also later at the end of this meeting, please remind me and I will do so. So that said, are there any questions? I cannot see from the phone because I'm doing with the phone I cannot see the whole thing like I see in my computer, so I cannot see the hands and so on. So, oh, now I touch something and I'm seeing hands, but I'm not seeing who raised the hand first. So whomever is first in the queue, please unmute yourself and talk as loudly as you can, because with this phone, I don't have that much volume as I have with my computer.
Katie's hand
there-
was raised first, and now she seems to have disappeared. Katie.
There she is. Yep, I'm just unmuting myself. Hare Krishna, Maharaj, and everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Nice to see you, Katie.
So nice to be with you and everyone today. Pranams. My question, trying to make sense of reality, is about action in our lives. The Mars has been in retrograde for about the past month, and so I've been starting to reflect on the actions that I've taken in my life and how they've kind of resulted in where I am today. And sometimes there doesn't seem to be very much connection between my actions and the results in my life. And I think one of the results of that is it kind of makes me want to just throw up my hands and say, I don't care, or I'm not going to put effort into anything, anymore, or like listen to my desires or how I want my life to be, because it's not working, and just say, Krishna, like whatever you want, like you steer the boat. But then I feel like Krishna encouraging me or asking me to get clear on how I want my life to be. And I'm like, why would I bother doing that when it doesn't seem to have very much effect? So I'm not super clear on, how to, I guess, how much I'm guiding my boat and how much Krishna is guiding my boat. So I'm not sure what to do moving forward, and was wondering if you had any thoughts on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, important question, and these are kind of the perennial inquiries, right? That hopefully we continue having this conversation for years and decades, and hopefully as part of the conversation, this same question comes over and over again, but from different places, right? So these are not questions to exhaust, so to say, like, okay, now Maharaj will give some answer, and next weekend I will have a new, more advanced question, and I can discard this one forever. Not necessarily, right? So, yeah, a few things came to mind while listening to you. The first one, because you were saying, between my actions and the results of my actions, there seems to be not much like a coherence, so to say, if you want to put it that way, at least for what's coherent for us, right? Which, to be honest, let's be honest, sometimes also we are not the super most coherent people in the world. So sometimes my point is, what we think is coherence doesn't necessarily mean what's coherent for Bhagavan and what's coherent from other perspective. No? So I think it's good to begin on that tone, and on that note of what I call epistemological modesty. No? Epistemology is how we know what we know. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves, humble ourselves as, okay, I'm trying to get to know things through my tools, my understanding, my capacities, but also I have to humble myself, reminding that whatever ideas I have, conclusions I have, notions of what's coherent or not I have, that's not necessarily the final version of it. So I should remain open on some level to acknowledging that I can be more coherent. So that to begin with. Because again, that if something doesn't make sense for us or doesn't seem coherent, doesn't necessarily mean that the system is failing, so to say. but that we may be a little bit attached to certain ways in which we think reality should operate. And it doesn't mean that it's not operating in those ways, but the way it operates is different. It's nuanced. It's ever new in one sense. Not that there's no order and there's complete chaos and anarchy. We are not saying that. But we should be open to update our own perception of things. That's one thing. And also one thing, when you say, okay, between my actions and the result of my actions, there seems to be no full correlation. And an important point that I will say is that not only our actions determine the result of our actions, but big part of what determines the fruit is our state of mind, our intention, from which place we are performing the action. It's not the action itself. Because many people can engage in the same action externally, and the fruit will be different because they are conducting themselves in that action differently, internally. So that's in one sense the most determining factor in the realm of action. Because again, for action, generally we tend to go to what we are doing externally, the act, the physical movement, let's put it that way. But the main part of what actually is creating a fruit, a result, is our state of mind, our consciousness, that is driving us toward a particular action from certain place, with certain intention, and many times with certain, let's be honest, expectation or even attachment to a particular result to obtain from that action. And of course, that's another important point, which is naturally one of the main teachings, not only of the Bhagavad Gita, but of the whole Vedic tradition and even beyond, is do not be attached to the fruit of your action, which is as simple as it is difficult to fully grasp. How to act in the world, trying to have the best possible intention and understanding, and not expect a particular result, but understand that the result is not the reward of my action, but the fact that I can engage in action from a dharmic perspective, that's the reward. Again, it's a very basic, simple teaching that Krishna teaches in Karma Yoga chapter in the Gita. The reward is the action itself performed without attachment, performed for the sake of duty, dharma, of religion, of bhakti seva, depending one situation. But this is an important point because we have this very high teachings on bhakti, this very esoteric content in our tradition, these very fancy nuances and notions and details. But sometimes we need to go to the basics and ask ourselves, am I acting from a detached perspective? Am I appreciative enough of the chance that I have to engage in action, to engage in bhakti, which is action also? Or that's not enough for me and I need a particular result to come from that action? And probably many times if we realize, yes, still my actions are very driven by a particular result in mind, that may be what's getting in the way. That may be what's affecting the fruit that comes from the action. So again, I'm not giving a diagnosis of your particular case, Katie, here. We are thinking together and analyzing these ideas from all this, considering all these main perspectives. But that's throughout the scripture. Like whatever action you perform, the main ingredient in the whole equation is internal disposition. From which place? Intention, motivation, state of consciousness. Use the word you want. But that's what determines where we will be and what's the fruit and how we will react to the fruit. Right? Because if we perform an action from a proper place of gratitude, of feeling happy if I am receiving the chance of acting as a servant of Bhagavan, as a servant of everyone in the context of bhakti. I can act. I have my faculties to act. That's a gift in itself. So I will act as dharmically as possible. And that in itself is the gift. That in itself is a reward. To be able to act from that place with that consciousness is in itself a reward. That if I'm missing that reward, probably I will miss all the other rewards that should come after that. To follow. If my engagement in action is not perceived as a reward, as a gift, probably whatever comes after that, all the other stages of the fruit of that action and so on, won't be perceived as a gift neither. So, and that's bhakti, no? Bhakti is executed for the sake of bhakti. So we are, for us as bhaktas, we are trying, our actions ideally are done as bhakti, is part of our bhakti, whatever we do. So if whatever we do is bhakti, and for us the fruit of our action is bhakti, in one sense, there is no need to have a particular expectation of things happening in a certain way. Of course, at the same time, I understand we have some expectation. I mean, if I don't know, if I'm coming to this meeting today, I'm expecting that Zoom will work, but Wi-Fi is not working that well. So again, some things outside of my expectation. But I will say that that's a necessary lesson, no? That things do not happen. Apart from all that I say, because okay, apart from all that I say, we need to think for ourselves. Do I need to align myself better with some of these points, and then see what comes as a result? Again, if I change my mood internally, the result externally may be the same, but I will perceive it differently by having a different internal disposition. So, but apart from all that, I will say that it's a very necessary, sometimes we will come in different ways, but sometimes it's necessary, more than sometimes, that things do not happen according to our plans. Now that's a very ingrained myth, and by myth here I'm using it in a negative term, like an idea that is never possibly true. In that sense, I'm talking about myth here. This idea that when things happen according to my plan or according to my own sweet will, so to say, I'll be happy. That's happiness. That's peace. Peace means, many times we have this idea, even though we never stop to question those things in ourselves. Peace, harmony, means everything is happening according to how I was planning it. And there's nothing farther from the truth than that. Because that will never happen. As I was talking the other day with a devotee, try to look back 10 years back in your life and try to remember which was your life plan, how you were thinking your life should ideally unfold and how things should happen from last 10 years or even 1 year or 5 years till now. And probably none of us will say, yes, it happened according to my plan and my own sweet will and everything unfolded very, no. I'm not saying nothing of that happened, but so many other things happened that were necessary to happen. So I'm saying all this to balance the whole thing. I'm not saying, so do not plan anything, just wake up and just throw your hands to the air and see if your morning juice is being provided by providence or not. No, you have to take some initiative. That's part of our existing beings and individuals with agency. We take some initiative. We bring some proposals. At the same time, we acknowledge that in between those things, there may be some elements that need to be purified, so to say. And many times, part of that treatment is that things won't happen absolutely accordingly to our original proposal. So that shows that at the same time that it's not only about us. It's not about me bringing proposals to Krishna, let's say. and his function being a facilitator of my proposals, right? So I think it's of common knowledge that part of practicing Krishna consciousness, Krishna bhakti, is identifying with the will of God, right? Asking, what's your will? What do you want? He's asking us also, what's your will? What do you want? It's a mutual conversation. If it helps, we can just think about any other, not to compare it, but in one sense, any other relationship we've had with other person, and it's a mutual participation. So there is a part that God operates, of course, and he wants to operate. He's very gentle, he's very kind and humble. He won't just force himself or his way into our life without giving us an option. He's persuasive, as we would like to say, no, not coercive. And we have our part to play as well. Sometimes we go to these two extremes, right? Sometimes we just forget that Krishna is a person and has his own will that he wants to exercise with us, and we limit him to be just a provider of my will. That's one extreme that sometimes we end up like he doesn't have a word in the relationship, and it's only about me asking for stuff and wanting things to happen in a certain way, and God is there to make the miracle. That's one extreme. And the other extreme is I don't take any responsibility for me. I don't take any initiative. And it's all about Krishna willing whatever he wants. I align with that. But all that happens in a way that I'm not taking responsibility for myself. So of course, these two are two sides of the same coin and equally toxic. So, and again, we may have related to other people apart from Krishna from those places, from one place or from the other. And I'm sure we have tasted the bitterness of the result of those experiments. So hopefully the way we relate to Krishna, to God, is not in a way that perpetrates our, how to say, traumatic relationship from the past, and they are projected into the divine, but our relation with the divine is such that it helps us heal and redeem the way we used to relate to everyone else. No? So before my point, we can take advantage of our connection with God from a place that it can heal and redeem all our past, present, future relationships, or it can just become we can just project those toxic patterns that we have with other people in a maximized way now to God. No, if I was treating someone in my life as a provider and not caring for them and just expecting them to serve my purposes, now I'm going to God, who has so much more capacity, so much power. So I like kind of maximize my dysfunction in relation to Bhagavan. Of course, that's not the idea. So it may take time to find our place in the relationship, no? How much am I supposed to bring into the relationship? How much am I supposed to receive? But it's always, again, it's speaking and listening, giving and receiving. No? These two side street in all these two dynamics that are in any relationship. It's not all about giving. It's not all about speaking. It's also about receiving. It's about listening. So it's co-creative. No? It's a co-creative project. So Krishna wants you and each one of us to act, to take initiative, to discern, to exercise discernment as to where I am, which is my nature. No, Bhagavad Gita, so much is there about that. Bhagavatam the same. Try to ascertain what's your duty in the world. No? Try to pay attention to in which direction you are instinctively inclined to act and to do some service in the world and function in a healthy, balanced way. Sometimes we don't even know much about that, and we may need to start about, okay, where I do not see myself in the world. No, which are those things that I really realize that's not me, that won't work for me, being whatever, a biochemistry professor, or being a policeman, or being a an artist, whatever. What works for someone may not work for the other. Not with all respect to all those engagements, but just sometimes we may need to discard some of those things. Which, okay, that's not me. That's not me. We may start by neti, by via negativa. What's not me? And gradually getting a glimpse into, okay, I feel some call in this direction. So our actions then will be guided more consciously by acknowledging what's my nature. And again, in that context, I try to engage in my dharma, in my nature-based actions in the world with God in mind for the pleasure of Bhagavan in connection with everyone. I'm gradually acknowledging, again, it's not limited to just me. It's not a one-man show, so to say, a one-woman show, doing everything myself, and it all depends on me. Like Krishna mentions in the Gita, different elements that define are necessary for an action, different ingredients that make for an action. And it's us, but it's also God's influence, one's karma, the gunas, other people. So there are many things happening at the same time when we are engaging in an action. It's not just, okay, I'm acting and I have this intention and that has to happen. Probably not. Again, because there are many other things playing out. So that's a humbling realization. It's an interconnected world, an interconnected reality. It's not just me doing my own thing by my own, which is great. That will be so sad that it's just me doing all, and it all depends. And no, there are some other influences playing out. I try to be aware of that. I'm humbled by that. And I try to align with all those influences in a way that is as closer as possible to an offering to the divine. And again, if I have the intention of pleasing God with my actions, it doesn't matter at the end of the day which was the end result. Because if I tried sincerely to please Krishna, the end result was that I succeeded in that. And that's worthy of celebration. So I think that's important also. No? Okay, we may look for some external result. I can understand in one sense it's unavoidable. You start some project or some action, you have to organize some things in your life, family, work, who knows what. You shoot for a particular goal. I understand. I start writing a book. My goal is that the book will be published at one point, of course. It's not that I'm starting writing something and, well, let's see what happens. At the end, I may burn the whole thing. No, there is some plan in mind. But at the same time, yeah, we have to be willing to let go when it's clear. When I insist in trying to get to that result, but it's clear that that's not how it should happen. We need to know when to let go also. We need to know how much to insist, because determination is there. We have to have some focus and investment of energy, but also we have to develop discernment to know when it's becoming stubbornness, an attachment to a particular result and whimsical, childish behavior, and being able to let go. And that letting go will give more peace and harmony than just insisting that things should happen in a certain way. So it's an art. It's an art engaging in action with some idea in mind, knowing when to let go, or if the things happen as we were expecting, also not becoming addicted to that, so to say. Okay, honoring that fruit, but bear in mind, the fruit is not the fruit. The fruit is the chance of just the opportunity to engage for the pleasure of Bhagavan from our perspective, to engage in action in a loving way to everyone. That's in itself the reward. I have received a knowledge, a guidance that is informing me that every single act can water the root of reality, so to say, can be for the pleasure of Krishna, can be for the pleasure of every other entity in connection to God. That in itself is the greatest treasure. So we have to ground ourselves in that realization. So, and we will be living already in the reward, so to say. Now, some thoughts. I don't know if that helps you in any way, makes any sense. I don't know, Katie, what do you think?
That was very helpful, Maharaj. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay,
Maharaj, is it okay if I add a quick example?
please go on.
Right now, highest I am, I'm interviewing for assistant principal jobs, and I've gone to 2 interviews, and it's very stressful for me. But when I started for my one yesterday, it was really actually a nice experience because I've started going, Krishna's will, not my will. And then even going to my interview yesterday, I said, I'm doing this as a service. I'm going to bring compassion and love to the people that I'm interviewing with and
Mhm.
be myself. And it was just, and I asked for Krishna. I said, please, Krishna, give me the words to answer these questions. If this is meant to be, I'm leaving that up to you. And I actually had such a nice interview and left feeling really good. So I may not get the job, but I think, I did a service to that person by just being good to them, and they were good in return. And so it kind of worked out. And actually, Krishna did give me the words. So yeah, I think that was because I'm kind of attached to results myself, and I'm working on this. I'm far from good of that, but that really worked thinking of that interview as a service, not as me trying to get this job. So just my little material example. Thank you.
No, it's great. Thank you. Thank you. And it's a good illustration. Yeah, it's simple, but sometimes things are too simple and they escape our vision, right? Because when we get too attached to things, to a certain result, immediately all our attention and energy and focus is made that happen. And somehow we become absent from the present moment and from offering ourselves through the action in the present moment because we are in the future. I want this to happen in a certain way. And of course, that brings so much anxiety because it may not happen, probably won't happen. So we are expecting that to happen. And as the action progresses, it seems it's not happening. And it's a mental torture, basically. So much fear, so much anxiety, so much clinging on something. And we are totally absent from the here and now. And we are losing sight of all that's going on in the here and now. The magic, the real miracle, it's always to have an actual experience can only be possible in the present moment. So attachment to the result, again, as I like to say, bhakti should not be result oriented, but presence oriented. So it applies to this. Result oriented is I'm doing this, so I go there, so this happens in this way. And all our, or most of our attention and focus is on the future. Future, tomorrow, somewhere else, not here and now, somewhere else, some other day. So we are not present. And by not being present, of course, we miss all of the things that we are actually needing and all of the things that we are projecting to the future. And we think, oh, that's what I need. That's what has to happen. All that is already coming in the present moment in better even ways than what we can imagine. But we are missing the whole thing by just being too much focused on a particular result, the particular of our actions. So yeah, it's very important to bring us back to the present moment and to concentrate on having the proper mood, intention, heart, understanding by that's the best thing I can possibly do. That's the best strategy if you want to speak in those terms. What's the best strategy to get the best result through your actions? It's not so much focus on a result and get mad about that happening, but try to have the best possible disposition in the here and now. I always remind that this Christian Saint Teresa de Lisieux, she has the famous little way, which was basically doing the smallest things on a daily basis, but with full heart. So any quote unquote insignificant daily action that may not sound like the great action of the day, try to invest as much heart as you can in that single act of whatever. Mowing the grass, going to the bathroom, peeling one potato, picking one flower, mopping the floor, whatever. But try to invest that single action of full presence, awareness, lovingness, compassion, whatever may be the heart's call. And that's a success. That's a super successful action. It may not create an apparent fruit in one sense, but at the same time, it will do internally. You all perceive the peace, the harmony, the reciprocation. If you are doing that again for the pleasure of Bhagavan, for the pleasure of someone, it creates an immediate response. So again, all the things are common knowledge in all mystical traditions, but we need to bring them back over and over again to our memory and hopefully orient our days and actions through that wisdom. Sorry, some further thoughts that they and trigger. Thanks so much for your sharing, and thank you, Katie, for your question. Probably we can move to the next one. If there are any others? I don't. Let's see. I'm not seeing the hands here. Yeah, there are a few hands. Okay, the next one is Yuval Kishore. I'm saying correctly?
Yeah, I think Budra was ahead of me, but maybe she, I don't know.
It's fine. We will go to all, so no problem.
Okay. Yeah, hi Marash. That was a great question. So thanks, Katie and Diane, for contributing to that as well. My question's different topic. Something I've had on my mind for my own, like to make sense of my own experience with Krishna consciousness so far. It kind of dawned on me maybe a week ago or so that the terms were never used, okay? So I'm kind of claiming this for myself. I'm not saying it has to be proved one way or the other. But I think when I received initiation, it was really harinama initiation, not diksha, because it didn't come with all these 6 mantras and Brahmin thread and all this other stuff. So I mean, that's the relevance of the topic for me, is to understand, well, what happened, what was supposed to happen, what was it actually, and where do I go from here? So could you discuss, I mean, you've done this maybe different times before, but that was that term harinam versus, like, I don't know, mantra diksha or just diksha. Could you discuss a little bit about what's the difference? Why for this harinam and not just a regular diksha? Where did this come from? You spoke a little last week about, diksha being primarily concerned with archana. Is that not the case anymore? If that's not the case anymore, then, like, let's say, harinam is like Chaitanya's movement, freely distributing the Maha Mantra. So then what's the point of all these other secret mantras? It's the thing that I think, like, kind of affects me the most is this attitude of, like, ooh, it's so secret, and the magic fairy dust comes down whenever you chant these secret mantras, and, like, so I don't know what the point of that is.
I don't know either. Yeah, well, if your main point is this attitude of all these secret mantras, yeah, I agree. There's no need to go in that direction. I know that some of us may get all excited about receiving these mantras, that we are not chanting them publicly. So sorry, I cannot tell it to you if you have not received it. And it's
Right.
some like Freemasons society or something. Like we have our like confidential elite. I mean, to be honest, I'm sure if you go to Google nowadays, you get all those mantras immediately. So they're not as secret as they used to be. Of course, the main emphasis here is, I mean, you can get the mantras in Google, but the main thing is the transmission coming from the sadhu, right? I mean, it's not so much that's the mantra. And at the same time, regarding this thing of secrecy in terms of teachings or mantras, we have to be careful, because I can talk to you, okay, I have a mantra that I received when I don't know, when I received sannyas. I mean, that's true, I'm not making it up. And I can tell, well, sorry guys, but none of you are sannyasis, so you don't have that mantra. Only I have that mantra. And it's secret, I cannot tell it to you because you're not sannyasi. And it's very confidential. And yes, all that is there. Of course, there's a way to say all these things. I'm giving the wrong example of how to say it. But my point is, it's not that you need to have that, right? The way to say it is like, oh, you're missing out something, like fear of no fear of missing out. Now that term is very often. So unless and until you receive this thing, sorry, but still you are not in. And I've seen different devotees bring in with that same attitude, but with different things, like whether they're diksha mantras, whether it's like Siddha Pranami, whether it's like reading certain books, or whether there is just you have to listen from my guru, because from him you will receive something, or her, that nobody else is giving. Again, this claims to exclusivity and confidentiality, like, which again, it's wrapped in a form of, I'm trying to give you a gift, I'm trying to give you something good for you, but many times it's just my own, and not always, but many times it's just our own exclusivity without proper inclusivity as a foundation. Now, I talked about that in radical personalism. Our tradition is very exclusive in many ways, but in the zenith, the more you go to the zenith, it becomes very detailed, specific, but it's founded on a very deep, profound inclusivity. So if you don't have that foundation in place, and you just become exclusive without being inclusive first, that exclusivity is sectarianism, fanaticism, you become public danger. And many times it's dressed in the form of this secret, this esoteric thing, this is real stuff. And I've seen that through the years also with different sadhus. Like, and not because sadhus themselves were promoting, okay, I'm the real thing now, everyone should come to me. But sometimes the followers, immature followers, have this tendency of, I always need to have someone who is the most advanced devotee on the planet Earth, and I have to be with that person, and I have to announce him to the rest of the world. And I've seen so many conflicts coming from that with people who was with Prabhupada, and then went to Srila Siddhar Maharaj, or some of them went to Srila Narayan Maharaj, or to someone else. It's not about the someone else, it's about how the followers over-idealize in the sense of everyone should come to them, because now he is the real thing now. Everyone should surrender to him, or Gaur Govinda Swami, or this. Everyone should get, and it's like, no, it's not. It doesn't work like that. It's not that everyone should. I've heard that even from some devotees, like things to the point of everyone should be initiated by my guru, and I like, by everyone you mean like every single living entity in the planet Earth that wants to be initiated? Yes. So I was like, okay. I have to take a rickshaw as soon as possible with your permission. It's too much, no? So going back to the theme, the danger also of over how to put it, over esoterizing diksha mantras, for example, is that somehow you may look down on the Maha Mantra. Now you may think like, oh, that's not enough, or that's not esoteric enough, because everyone knows it. It's too public. So there's no, where's the secrecy in all that? And you start to look for more stuff. And whether that be diksha mantra, whether that be this or that, and I'm not against all other stuff, so to say, as long as it's related to from a healthy place, from a place that you are humble enough to think, actually everything can be obtained from the name of Krishna, just to concentrate on the name of Krishna, since you're asking about harinama. I mean, we have this aparat, nama aparat to avoid, and among those, if you pay attention, is this idea of not having faith that everything can come from chanting the name of Krishna. So, of course, we are not maybe on that platform that we can only chant the name of Krishna. We need to do some other things. But it's not that we are doing other things because the name of Krishna is not enough, but because I'm not enough. I don't have the capacity to draw all that it can be drawn from those syllables. But Rupa Goswami gives a very different testimony. No janeti janita yad viramritayar krishneti varnandoi. He says, oh, I don't know how much nectar is contained in these two syllables. Krishna, Krishna. I cannot fathom that. There's so much coming. This famous verse, Tundetanda Vinira Timbitanute Navali Labdaye. Karna Kroda Kanambini Gatayate Karnarbute Vispyam. Cheto Prangana Sangini Gatayate Sarvendriyanam Kritim. And then he concludes, no Jane Janitaki at Viramrita. Krishneti Varnam. There's so much coming from these two syllables that the only thing I can do, he says, I'm just praying to Krishna for millions of years to somehow hold the descending current of ambrosia that is overflowing from these two syllables. It's too much. My 2 years are collapsing. Krishna, I don't like to ask for anything. I don't want to act expecting for a fruit of my action, as we were talking before. But Rupa Goswami said, I'm desperate. I need millions of years. Because what is coming is so sweet and is so, how to say, it's so noble what is coming that I don't want I want to contain everything of this descending curve that is coming. I don't want to spoil a drop of this. I want to properly honor. But with the two cups of my 2 years, not possible. I need millions. And with my tongue, I have only one tongue. Why only one tongue? Why the Creator is so cruel? So Krishna, if I may, millions of tongues I need to properly host the grace that is coming. Anyhow, I don't want to get lost and found and lost and found again in this verse, but my point is he's referring to those two syllables, Krishna, which is another way of referring to harinama. I'm making the point. Everything is there. We may not be able to extract all that, and that's diksha mantras coming to assist us so we can better chant the name of Krishna. But in our tradition, the name of Krishna is always given priority. It's not that the diksha, and the diksha mantras, the main ones are all made of names of Krishna. Gopal mantra, Kam Gayatri, which are the main mantras, which are in some lines there are only those two given. In our line we have like 6 or 7, depending the case. But in most other lines, basically they give Gopal mantra and Kam Gayatri. And you take out the names of Krishna from those mantras, and they are no longer what they are supposed to be. So again, my point is the name of Krishna is the main element, the active principle of the diksha mantras. So it's all pointing back to the name of Krishna. So the point is that, no, and Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura made that point. If you chant the name of Krishna properly, that's more than enough. It's not that, as a general rule, diksha is there. I'm not downplaying diksha. I'm not canceling diksha, but there can be cases, and there are. I mean, I was talking some weeks ago with a sannyasi friend of mine about this, and he told me Haridas Thakur did not receive diksha, and he's Haridas Thakur, right? Again, it's Haridas Thakur. We are not Haridas Thakur. And in that case, diksha may support our chanting of her, but he's an Namacharya. He's a very important figure. And there are a few other cases that historically it's not clear if they received diksha or not. And they are very intimate associates of Mahaprabhu. So again, it's not only one way of doing things, and only this is how it works. In time, as you say, diksha may have some function. In time, it takes another function here and that. But as you mentioned also, Jugal Kishore, I will emphasize, all the things should not make us lose sight of the main focus of how Mahaprabhu came in a very liberal way and spirit distributing divine love in very indiscriminate way, and especially through the name, infusing the name with a particular realization, with a particular spirit of chanting. So that's my point. I mean, if diksha comes eventually in a way that feels natural and organic and blessed, of course, nobody has anything against that. But I wouldn't say, oh, unless that happens, sorry, you're out of the club, or you're missing the real thing, or your chanting won't be as effective, because I've heard about saying that so many times. From that perspective, from other perspectives, someone may have not even received harinam, what we may call sometimes harinam initiation. Still, they are chanting harinam, because I will say all of us have been chanting the Maha Mantra before receiving it from someone. And I've seen many times what's like, oh, you are chanting, but you have not received the mantra from a sadhu. So like that's not counting, basically. And I will make that point. Of course, I'm not downplaying receiving the mantra from a sadhu, but I'm not downplaying what happens, the chanting of the mantra before receiving it from the sadhu either. You follow my point? Because if not, we again start to become very exclusive. Oh, you have not received harinam, sorry. Or other, you have not received diksha yet. Still, you're missing something. Oh, you have not received Siddha Pranali yet. Oh, still there is some layer missing. Oh, you have not, I don't know, taking sannyas. Some will have, each one will come with their own version of exclusivity, right? Or you are not studying this topmost rasic literature, no? Or you have not memorized the Astakaliya Lila. You are not, anyhow, whatever it may be. It's not about the thing itself. No? It's from which place we're coming. So yeah, I will emphasize in a situation like yours, and I'm not telling you what to do, just thinking, just not practicing from a place of lacking, of scarcity, and having full faith and trust that by going deep into your chanting of the name, which is basically developing your relationship with Radha and Krishna, who are not different from the name, everything will come accordingly, whatever that everything needs to be. Everything doesn't necessarily mean this, and after that this, and after that this. It means everything, whatever is everything for your particular case. May not be the same everything for someone else, right? I don't know. That's coming now today.
It does help.
What are your thoughts?
Yes. I think it comes back to like intention, because maybe you have some whatever Maha Bhagavat gives you a mantra, but if your intention isn't there to receive, then it has no effect. There's no Shakti. Or maybe you really want to receive, and the person is not a Maha Bhagavat, but I don't know. I mean, if you're pure, if there's purity of heart there, then I think that's all that really matters. Like,
yeah, I will say that's the most important thing. I wouldn't just limit everything to my intention, and it's only it. But I would say that's in one sense the most important thing. In the words of Srila Siddhar Maharaj, referring to Bhagavad Gita, sincerity is invincible. He will translate it, right? So it's another way of putting it the same way. And as I also, remember writing in Radical Personalism, you can have a guru who is not a Mahabhagavat, and of course, long conversation, but how can you measure who is a Mahabhagavat?
exactly.
Like they were talking, and someone say, well, you can see who is a Nitya Siddha, because it's Nitya Siddha is whatever. And there was some description, but there's no description in the scriptures how to find Nitya Siddha. No? What was the like a radar or something, like did Nitya Siddha found here, and something was said to the effect of Nitya Siddha is self-effulgent. So what does it mean, self-effulgent? Maybe self-effulgent for you. No, and I'm not downplaying that. Like I don't know. Some people may have told me or have experienced, like no, and I've heard that many times, and I totally believe that, because there's so much consensus in their testimony when they met Srila Prabhupada. It was such a self-effulgence coming from him. And I totally believe, but also I will say, but not every single person that met with Prabhupada perceived that.
Yeah.
Which again, it's not putting down Prabhupada at all. It's just, you say self-effulgent, but how much that can be made of a universal argument. Because if it's self-effulgent, means everyone is saying that, but not everyone is saying that. So again, it all depends one's willingness, one's openness. If you are looking for the truth, if you're sincerely looking, of course, that will become self-effulgent. And yeah, and I would say that's the most important thing. And even if your guru said, whatever, Madhyam, Bhagavat, but you're very honest and sincere, you will be guided toward the goal. And as you say, you can have the highest, topmost Uttam Bhagavat on planet Earth, but you have no clue what to do with that. It may be too high for you, or you may be not sincere enough. You may just want it the official, how to say, credential. I'm initiated by him, the topmost, and it's an extended way of saying I am the best in the world because my guru is the best in the world. Many times it's just an extended transference of ego there. So the real question is, what do you do with what you are receiving? And yeah, there are many stories in the scripture about that. So yeah, on our part, which is the main thing, is, yeah, we have to be very honest, very sincere, have the heart as much as we can, figure that out, have the heart in the right place. and even if sometimes we are connected with someone who may not be in the best standing even, but our sincere desire is there, Krishna can make an arrangement to reveal many interesting things through that vehicle. Well, I have some personal experience of that. I won't go into my own journey, but that can happen. So yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to New Zealand online, and in a few days physically. Looking forward to meet with Badra in person as well there. So nice to see you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yes, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm coming down to the South Island to see you because even though you're coming right to my community virtually, and you'll be literally a few meters from my house, it's the dates that you will be in this area coincide exactly with a Sangha camp that we have every year in another area. And your dates
so
here.
You will be going to Nelson.
Yes, I will. Yes.
Oh,
So
great.
I'll see you there.
So I will see you sooner than what I expected. That's great.
Yeah, nice. So I want to inquire about a statement of Saraswati Thakura, which I'm reading off the screen. 1 second, I'll just enlarge it. This is from his article, Organized Religion. And he says, the church that has the best chance of survival in this damned world is that of atheism under the convenient guise of theism. The churches have always provided the staunchest upholders of the grossest form of worldliness, from which even the worst non-ecclesiastical criminals are found to recoil. So I'm wondering about what would be your comment on what he means by this. I mean, I know that there have been atrocities performed by apparent Christianity over the centuries, the Crusades and the Inquisitions, and also a lot of, pedophilia and child abuse in the church, among church leaders and stuff. But would that be what Saraswati Thakura is talking about when he says it's the upholders of the grossest form of worldliness? What is he meaning by that?
That's a good question. To be honest, of course, to humble myself, the very first thing I will say is I don't know, because you are asking me about the intentions, right? The intentions behind his words. So how much I can tell you about that, it's difficult. I remember reading that section some time ago. Of course, I will and there's maybe not place here, maybe you can send that to me by private message, but I will appreciate maybe reading the whole thing to see where the context in which that particular statement appears, because that's not the only section of the article, so to say, that's just a few paragraphs or a few sentences. So as we always know, or maybe you can remind me now if you have read the whole thing, which is the bigger context in which he's saying that, what he says before, what he says after, what's the main theme of the article. Because of course I can say so many things, what I think he means and what I imagine in which direction that could go, but also I don't want just to let my imagination get loose, and maybe there are some further clues by studying the context of the statements. So maybe you don't have them.
Okay.
And also on another level is, I know his English is very complicated. It's very, not complicated, but it has a way of speaking that you have to be very, very attentive. And it may be too much now, maybe reading the whole thing without saying the words to follow up the whole concept. But I don't know if you have anything to say in terms of the broader context of that statement.
Well, no, I don't. Although I read the article, Organized Religion, many years ago, this was just a quote that I found in a meme online, and it jumped out at me. I thought I'll ask about it. But I believe I have the actual article filed, so I'll look it up and I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Sorry if I'm not giving a more detailed answer, because I prefer to
yeah, I appreciate your
to honor the original context.
yeah,
in
sure. I
which those
appreciate
words.
your thank you, Maharaj. I appreciate your words and your honesty there.
Yeah, trying to humble myself, because it can be a great temptation to just open my mouth and bumble about, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I can do that, but I don't want to do that. I just prefer to be loyal to the original context and try to be as accurate as possible. So yeah, let's do it like that. And I look forward to the whole article. Thank you. Okay, so I saw that Divyangana had raised hand. Now it's no longer raised, but I don't know if the question was solved for other answers. Sometimes it happens, so I'm asking just in case.
No, thank you. Yes, I had a question. It's about
you had a question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, a little interrupted, but yes.
Okay, I had a question about a verse who says that the one who see everywhere the spiritual presence identical to God will see the true nature of things, and so is free from illusion and anxiety. So it goes in Sanskrit, it goes Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmaiva Buddvijanata Tatra Komoha Kashoka Ekadvam Anupashyata. And yes, my question, it was like, because I feel like it's very human things that we have, at least, or maybe just, or me also, but it's very human that we have so much fear and anxiety, and it's an easy place to go. And I'm always very admirative when I see some people that I feel like they have not so much, they don't seem to have so much fear and anxiety, especially people that are very, a lot in spiritual life, like sadhus or something. And so yes, it's my question, like how we can really try to reconnect with that space where we don't have to go like in this safety mode, in this like survival mode all the time or something like that. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your question. And fear. So and the verse you quote, which are many verses like that in Shastra. And it's very interesting because all these verses are pointing to seeing the, seeing the cohesiveness of reality, seeing how reality is connected, seeing how reality exists in a context. It's contained. Reality is self-contained, ultimately. So to see that everything is interconnected, interrelated, everything belongs, in the words of Father Richard Rohr. To have that realization, which I'm not saying is something cheap, but even to know it in theory, just that can be transformative. Just to remind yourself on a daily basis, everything exists in relationship with everything else. Nothing exists in isolation. We are not broken parts floating in the universe without any connection whatsoever with anything. To remind ourselves, everything exists in relation. Reality is relational. That is so healing. That is, and that may be a necessary mantra that we need to invoke to counteract the mantra that we may have had for who knows how many lifetimes, going in the opposite direction of separateness. So this is a famous verse of the Bhagavatam, Bhayam Ditya Vinideshatasya, famous first line, which says, from having a dualistic perspective, from losing sight of the oneness of reality, of the unity, of the relationality of things, from losing sight of that and seeing things dualistically, like separate, fragmented, bhayam, fear comes. The fear comes by us not seeing connectedness, relationality, bonding, yoga. And again, I'm just giving a concept here. For many of us, this same truth has so many layers that need to be addressed in terms of past experience. I don't know, we may have had experiences, many of us, or many people in this world have had some form of experience of trauma for sure. No? If you tell me in my childhood there was zero trauma, I don't believe you. It's not possible. It's not possible, basically. Even if you are born in the healthiest family, I mean, there had some trauma is there of some type. Again, trauma doesn't mean I was raped. No, of course, also that means, but I'm saying that's not limited to that. That's my point. So, what to speak if we have gone through some form of abuse, which many times fractures our sense of existence. No, going through some abuse, especially when we are young, naturally we may feel ourselves like apart from reality, like broken pieces. Our whole psyche, our whole sense of identity is like, it's not a whole. It's not one single integrated thing, but it's just broken bits, unintegrated and broken bits everywhere. So naturally there will be lots of fear because my whole internal sense of being is fractured by some extreme traumatic experiences of abuse. I'm just giving examples like that because I don't want just to sound like, oh yeah, fear comes from separateness, so you just have to realize that everything is interconnected, no more fear. And it's like, okay, nice, thank you, Maharaj. I'll try to repeat that, but some people may need more than that, may need therapy, may need healing of different sorts, may need to go through all that situations of brokenness and heal that and redeem that and embrace all that and create unity where there is separation, so to say. I create a new bond and redeem those broken bits by putting the pieces back together, so to say, with the glue of compassion and self-compassion and understanding and redeem yourself. And that's a process that may take time. It may take years, lifetimes, and it's okay. There's no rush. We want to be as wholesome as we can to offer ourselves to Krishna, right? So I'm saying this because, again, we sometimes may have our fears. I mean, who is free from fear? Come on. So different layers, of course, and degrees. So sometimes we see someone else that clearly has less fear than I have. But also, I don't think it's healthy to enter into a comparison game. No. Of course, you can appreciate that, and you can feel, probably will feel inspired because we want to stop fearing that much. So someone is less fearful, doesn't mean that has no fear, or probably some very advanced cases. And naturally, we feel attracted because we want that. In life based on fear is not like basically natural. Ideally, we intuitively, we know life based on trust is natural, based on love, based on faith. And fear kind of gets in the way of that. But again, each case is different. So we can see someone else in a quote unquote better situation, but we have our own situation that we have to go through. And we cannot just like try to imitate the other person or try to be the other person. Because maybe that person didn't go through the things we went through. And of course, that didn't happen. Nobody went through the things that anyone else went through. So we have to be careful not just to idolize the other person's less fear and try just to be there or imitate. But okay, admire, appreciate that, but then go back to my own journey, my own life trajectory, my own story, and what needs to be healed in my own story, no? that I can do, that I cannot expect other people to do that for me. Okay, I was inspired by this person's lack of fear, fearlessness, abhayatva in Sanskrit, it's an important word, to be fearless. But again, I cannot just press a button and be fearless. No? Because again, fear comes from this perception of reality as separateness. So we have to bring things back together. And many times bring things back together starts at home. No? The broken pieces in me need to be put together emotionally, psychologically. All those things are important. So when that's in place and healed, naturally I can trust. Naturally I become stronger because I'm unified. I'm integrated. If I'm absolutely fractured and fragmented, so yeah, many times healing is necessary. Healing of different sorts, depending each case. So we need to work on that. And I know it's a messy adventure because just to confront your fear is fearful. Basically, paradoxically, I mean, if you want to go deep into which are your greatest fears, that in itself gives fear, right? So that's why also we need to have enough support and enough backing and enough love and enough trust that gives us the empowerment to dare to try it. And again, it's a gradual process. Again, it may take whatever time it needs to take. It's okay. We shouldn't be in a rush, not trying to finish this business as soon as possible. Why? Why are you so in a hurry? Maybe because you are fearful. You don't want to spend as much time as necessary with that uncomfortable and setting thing, because so again, it's fearful because in fear you are also very fragile, very vulnerable, very messy, and generally we don't want to see us like that. So that's why it's so important that we allow ourselves to see ourselves as that, and we have people in our life that validate our existence in those moments. I can be fearful, I can be doubtful, I can be terrified, and I know that there are certain people in my life who are still loving me in those moments, very much supporting me. They are there with me, telling me, come on, take the next step. I know you can do it. I cannot take that step for you, but I'm here with you as close as I can, as close as my free will allows me. I'm there. But there's a part that I cannot do it myself. You have to do it. So, and you can't do it. So they will give us, and they will do it themselves to lead by example. And they will support us to do it ourselves. They will be there with us. So we need that type of environment to confront our dragons, right? to embrace our shadow, whatever terminology you want to use. So again, it's a process. No? It's not an issue that just a Swami gives one answer and it's gone. No, that's not how life operates. Thank God. No? There is complexity. No? There is messiness. There are things that we need to go through to grow, to mature, to become adult human beings, adult practitioners, not to remain childish, no? to integrate. So, yeah. And again, last thing is connected, and I cannot avoid going to the, again, I mentioned that vulnerability. Vulnerability is synonymous with courage. And courage, in one sense, is the opposite of fear, right? So it's important that we embrace our vulnerability with dignity, without fear, without thinking of being vulnerable is the worst possible thing. I don't want to go there. I don't want anyone to see me like that. That's not good. That's weakness. No. Vulnerability is strength, empowerment, courage. But again, it needs to be embraced and expressed in a context that appreciates that and that will give feedback that is empowering to me. So when I can show myself in my total vulnerability, I'm being courageous. And by being courageous, I'm counteracting this fear. So that's a way like of deconstructing the fear, dismantling the whole mechanism. But that again can only happen in a safe environment. And many times if we came from abusive relationships or experiences, the very idea of being vulnerable is paralyzing, because we have this experience that, oh no, that was the moment, the worst moment in my life. So now we need to like replace the pattern, redeem the parampara, so to say, and teach ourselves, no, there is a way to be vulnerable and create the exact opposite thing of what happened to me till now when I was vulnerable, so to say. And you start to try it gradually, because of course there's still fear, and we open ourselves and are vulnerable and trust, dare to trust, risky as it sounds, and it feels good, hopefully, if it's done with discernment with someone who's well-wisher. And gradually, one layer after another, we are healing one layer today, another layer tomorrow, and start to put the dots together, to put the broken pieces together, one piece today, one piece tomorrow. Again, it's a lifelong journey. No? Another layer here, this is redeemed, this is now this is integrated tomorrow, this is healed day after tomorrow, next week. And gradually we are building a wholesome sense of being, constructing that, and we become strong. And at one point, of course, there will come that realization that there is nothing to fear. I mean, I have no, from the most enlightened perspective, there is no real reason to be fearful. But again, that's from the most enlightened perspective. I cannot force myself to be there. I cannot force others to be there. I can do my best to get closer to there, because that's how reality looks like. That's how reality should be approached. Not from a place of fear, but from a place of wholeness, and from a place that everything belongs and everything already is contained and interrelated and certain around the common center. And we have so much in common. Yeah, in principle, all that. But in practical experience, many times we may need to take some time to put a few things together, to put our house in order, so to say. So it's fine. It's part of the process. It's glorious in itself. As messy as it is, it's glorious in itself. So that's what comes today. I hope that helps Nivyangana in terms of fear and related issues, which we are all in that. No, the last thing that I already mentioned the other day, but I think we have to maybe at least mention that once every week, which is whether it's fear or it's anything else, is that we have to be very careful of not limiting the experience to ourselves. Like, okay, I have fear,
And we kind of feel only I have fear. It's my problem. No, it's not your problem. It's our problem. It's a collective condition. Everyone has fear in one way or another. So we are all in this together. So by knowing yourself part of this adventure, collective adventure, you can be compassionate to yourself and to others. Okay, we're all in this together. It's not only about me. It's not that I'm the only damned person in creation that has fear. No. It's not like that. No. Because by doing that, it creates more fear. Because it creates more isolation. One is already fragmented. If we are fearful, it means we are fragmented, we are separated. And by thinking I have fear, it's my problem, I separate myself more, I isolate myself more, I fragment myself more. So there will be more fear. So it's a self-reinforcing, toxic, vicious circle. So one way to break the circle is, again, universalizing your condition. Okay, you have fear, but we all here have fear. Different ways, in our own way. So it's our problem. We are all in this together. My problem, your problem, our problem. So that in itself creates a very healthy, unified pattern. You start to see this interconnectedness, right? You start to create this, to cancel this isolation. It's my problem. No, it's not my problem. It's our problem. So you start to see, okay, I'm not alone. We are related. From that foundation, gradually, these fear mechanisms can be dismantled, hopefully more and more. Of course, in the context of practicing and praying and asking for mercy, of course, I'm not discounting any of that, but many times we need also to accompany our sadhana and prayer and practice with some of these considerations. It's complementary. It's not one exclusive from the other. So I hope that helps.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Very important one. Okay, so we started a few minutes later due to these technical details, so I will put the conversation to rest now. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Harinam Prabhu ki jai.